Welcome to the Boxing Talk Show.
Fair but firm.
With the Hall of Fame boxing referee.
I'm Joe Cortez.
For all of Las Vegas.
Come on, guys. Let's touch them up. Clean fight. I'm Joe Cortez. Fair but firm.
Welcome to the Fair but Firm Show here with Joe Cortez and my special guest today, Bob Bennett. Bob Bennett is the Executive Director of Nevada State Athletic Commission, and I'm so proud to see him in that position. A little background about Bob Bennett: was an ex-professional judge, and prior to that, he was an FBI agent, and he brought a lot into boxing. Former Marine captain, and he has a lot what it takes to be in the position that he's in now. He's a no-nonsense commissioner, which is what we need in boxing. Somebody who controls his team and controls boxing, promoters, managers, matchmakers, judges, referees. He's in charge of all of this. It's not an easy task. However, what he's doing it the right way. The way I like to see all commissions around the world perform the way Bob Bennett does, because he is an individual that gives it 150%. Not just sits back and just shakes it off like that's a regular job. No, he knows this is a very difficult job, because there's two fighters' lives every time he approves a match. That's part of his duties as a commissioner, a director. And Bob Bennett, I want to welcome you to our show today. We think that we have a lot we can talk about today, especially when it comes to the safety in boxing.
Thank you very much, Joe, and I appreciate your kind remarks, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Bob, you've been on the executive director now for about the last 3 years, and pretty soon he'll be celebrating his 4th year. It's nothing like what he did with the FBI, 24 years. And I'm so proud of you. I know you gave us a lot of years in the amateur ranks before you got into the pro ranks yourself as a professional boxing judge. And I was so delighted and overwhelmed by the way you carry yourself as an executive director, and knowing that we worked together coming up the ranks, and I always knew that you were the right guy for the position. I know there was over 100 individuals applying for this job, but when it comes to safety and handling the position on a professional level, it couldn't be done by anybody better than Bob Bennett.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Okay, Bob, now let's talk a little bit about the safety in boxing. As you well know, that in boxing there's a lot of fighters out there that shouldn't be matched up against one another, and that's because of the lack of I can't say professionalism of a director of a commission, but maybe they're being pushed into putting a fight together a little too quick, and these individuals have to learn that you got to do your homework putting a fight together. You got the promoters, you got the matchmaker, but then you got the stamp of approval comes from the commission, and it comes from the executive director. When it comes to your desk, the paperwork's in front of you. You look at the records of both sides. Take us through this whole thing. How does that work?
Sure. Be my pleasure, Joe. First of all, I work at the pleasure of Chairman Anthony Marnell III and 4 other commissioners. If it wasn't for the chairman and the commissioners in support of what I do, it would be very difficult to be as successful as we are. So having their backing is second to none. You know, years ago, when you approve fights, many years ago, you could just look at 2 fight faxes. Oh, this guy is 20-1 and he's 19-2. Okay, looks good. He's approved. But nowadays, there's so much information out there on the internet where you can go and you can look at a fighter, whether it's YouTube is it fights, so you can actually see how he fights, or you want to find out if he or she had an amateur background. You can call USA Boxing to figure that out, or if it's international, you could Google the fighter. So there's a litany of things that I do when I approve or disapprove a fight. And really, the health and safety of the fighter starts with whether a fight gets approved or not. So when I receive 2 fight faxes, right after looking at those fight faxes and see what the fighter's record is and what his competition was, I'll go to BoxRec. And then I will dissect and obtain some information from BoxRec.
Right. Now, we know that in boxing, commissioners around the country share information with one another. Just for the listeners out there and the viewers, what type of database is in place, if any, besides BoxRec and YouTube to determine for you to make a decision on a fighter, to putting the stamp of approval of a fight?
Sure, you could go to Google, any search engine, and check out a fighter's record. Check out the way he or she fights. You could go, as I said before, to USA Boxing to see what the pedigree of the boxing is. There's a lot of fighters, say in Mexico, that started very young that didn't have an amateur career. So it's not one thing doesn't catch everyone. So you have to take, a wide spectrum of the fighter's background, and then look at his wins and losses and the caliber of the fighters that he faced in comparison to the people, or to the fighter, that they want to place their fighter against.
Now, sometimes there's fighters, and I come up to a fighter from Mexico that you didn't approve a while back, just Jaime Munguia from Tijuana, and they wanted to match him against Gennady Golovkin. And me, as an ex-fighter, professional fighter, and a referee for 35 years, there are some concerns when I see fighters that have a great record, but nobody knows who they are. And I, as a referee, when I was active, I never heard of this fighter. He had a good record, but I was a little concerned because I knew the champion. I knew how to fight the champion, what kind of damage he can do, that he's proven himself throughout the years. Now, this guy has a good record, but he has a big question mark. Who has he really fought? He really has fought nobody for you to say, well, I'm going to prove him. He probably fought a bunch of palookas out there. He has potentials, but I'm not going to risk putting him in a fight. As a referee, I was concerned that he may get hurt. I said, here's a guy with great talent on paper, and he may be a champion one day, but if he fights a fighter like Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, he can ruin this kid's career. This kid's only 20 years old. So if I was in that position, and I've been in that position as far as on the referee side, I said, wow, I got to be very cautious here because this guy has a great record, but he hasn't fought anybody with any name recognition. So I'm glad that you stop it before it gets to us.
Yeah, I really did on this one, and it's nice to know as a regulator, you're not out there to win friends. You're out there basically to do what's right and to protect the fighter and to protect your commission. And when Jaime Munguia came up, obviously I took a look at his fight facts. I think it was 28-0 at the time, with around 20 some odd knockouts, and all of them were in Mexico except for one in Vegas. But this young man, I think, was 21 at the time, and he has tremendous potential. He's a big guy, he's a strong guy, he punches hard, but to put him against Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, who's been a middleweight for the last 12 years and really fought the creme de la creme of fighters in the middleweight division, I really felt like we were putting this young man in harm's way and give him a chance to come up through the ranks and preserve himself and have a solid career down the road. And as it turns out, he ended up fighting Saddam Ali, who beat Cotto. But Saddam really, if you look at his record, Saddam's really a welterweight at 147.
Right.
And so when Jaime ended up fighting Saddam Ali, he came in, that being Munguia, at $170, and he's 6 foot tall. So he pretty much had his way with Ali.
Yeah, right. And so he ended up becoming a world champion, and he says, I got to thank Bob Bennett, not in a derogatory way, but thanking you because you said no to him in Nevada. Now, I can tell you one thing. Had he been matched against Triple G, the chances are Triple G probably would have destroyed him, and that kid would never have been the same again. A lot of fighters have great talent, but when you put him against an overmatched fighter, now they're shell-shocked. They're never the same again. So I think you did the right thing. He's a world champion today. Now he has other opportunities to fight at another level, but had you said yes to him, he probably would have lost. Most likely got stopped by Triple G. But by you saying no, he becomes a super middleweight, a welterweight champion, or 160 champion, right?
Junior middleweight 154.
Yeah, 154 champion. So he's 154 champion. He got to take his hat off to you and his whole family. Thank you, because now he can make some money. Later on, when he gets more experience and he does okay, maybe they can match him up against Triple G if Triple G is still around. But Triple G is a fighter that when he hits you, you saw what he's done to all those fighters throughout the past. And anybody who's been against Triple G can tell you, Jaime Munguia would have never had a chance against Triple G. So Triple G now fights with Canelo Alvarez. The fight is on for September 15th. And Munguia has the opportunity. That he's a world champion. So everybody got to say, thanks God, Triple G is still fighting for the championship against Canelo Alvarez. Munguia now is in a position that he can say, or his promoters and everything can say, we want to fight him against so-and-so. He's proven himself, and he's still a young fighter.
You're right, Joe. You make an excellent point. I think at the time that fight was, they were trying to make that fight with Triple G and Jaime. Triple G was 37-1 with, I think, around 33 knockouts. And my concern was, looking at Munguia's record, was that he's never been hit by anybody like Triple G before.
Right, exactly.
And that was my real concern, that he hadn't been proven on a battlefield, so to speak, that he could take some punishment before he was going to deliver some back. And I would rather, on behalf of the chairman and the commissioners, and the fighter, of course, I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Exactly. I agree with you 100% with that. I mean, that's why you're in the position that you're in, because it's like throwing the dice out there. You either
no, you're right.
Crap out, or you're going to win, and you did the right thing.
And it's nice that that you say no, or you don't approve the fight. And this fight, quite honestly, I discussed with the chairman to make sure he was aware of it from A to Z. So with that being said, we were able to do what we get paid to do and preserve this young man's career for him to subsequently become a world champion as we sit here.
Exactly. It takes somebody with good skills as an administrator, as a regulator like yourself, and that's why you're where you're at. We're going to go into a brief commercial, and we'll be right back, so stay tuned. Don't leave the channel.
Fair but firm.
With the Hall of Fame boxing referee
I'm Joe Cortez.
for all of Las Vegas.
Come on, guys. Let's touch them up. Clean fight. I'm Joe Cortez. Fair but firm.
Welcome back to the Fair but Firm Show here with my special guest, Bob Bennett, Director of Nevada State Athletic Commission. Bob, we're talking about safety in boxing and what you've accomplished so far in the years that you've been here as an executive director. You've made a lot of positive changes for the betterment of the sport of boxing in the state of Nevada. And we need more individuals like yourself around the country. I know you have contact with commissioners all over the country, like Larry Hazard, and
Yep.
the commissioners in California,
Andy Foster,
and New York State Athletic Commission.
Kim,
and
Greg Serb down in Pennsylvania. Sure.
Yeah. And that's what we're talking about, teamwork, everybody working together for the betterment of the sport. And I think that that Nevada is the boxing capital of the world. I mean, we have the mega fights here in Nevada. But tell us a little bit about your referees and your judges. How do you? I could talk to fans out there listening. I've been in boxing for over 35 years as a referee, but I'm still on the side with the Nevada Commission, and I'm always trying to help wherever I can to make sure that we keep going the way we've been going for all the years ever since I stepped down. We have a good team of referees and judges. Bobby, tell us a little bit about your judges, how you select your judges and your referees for these mega fights.
Sure. Before I touch on that, if I may, because we were talking about the health and safety of the fighters, I've been blessed to have incredible ringside physicians. I don't want to speak specifically about any one of them because all of them are phenomenal. And to know who my lead physician is, my second physician, and then the 2/3, because we usually have four ringside physicians for a fight. I've learned an awful lot from them, and they've been in the business for well over 20 years, the really experienced ones.
Right.
And they're able to assess a fighter when he's had too much, or he's got enough room to go, or he's been cut too badly. And it's a collective effort between the commissioners, my ringside physicians, and myself in an effort to look out for the health and safety of the fighters.
Yeah, and fans out there listening, we're talking about teamwork, but we also got to remember we also have the inspectors in the corners too,
Right.
and in the dressing rooms, and the inspectors also have a role, and they help out the referees during the contest. If something goes wrong in the corner, the inspector in that corner during the rest period, he can advise he hears something going wrong in that corner, he gives notice to the referee and let them know that something is not right in that corner. So they also help us out. They are eyes and ears in that corner during the rest period.
That's very true.
And also keep control of anything going wrong during the fight, making sure there's control in that corner.
You couldn't be more accurate, Joe. And they're the first in and the last to go during an event. And they are the eyes and the ears of the doctors before they bring the fighters out.
Right.
And there are a few examples where some of our inspectors did see a fighter was having some challenges, and he notified the doctor, or she in this case, one of the inspectors.
Yeah. And also the referee, sometimes they hear something where we collect the scorecards or looking at the other fighter, the other corner, he may hear something there. He brings it to the attention of the referee. So it's always good to know that you're not in there by yourself. But that's why I say it's teamwork. Sometimes they alert the commissioner, Bob Bennett, and Bob Bennett brings the attention to the referee. Everybody's paying close attention to the action. Anything that goes wrong, whether it's a slip, a low blow, a headbutt, something, the commission is always right there to help out with the calls. The referee is not at all, cannot see everything from all angles, but sometimes the commission or perhaps even the judges or somebody on the commission can say, well, tell the commissioner this and this happened. But now you're also going with the instant replay. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, we're just working with on a trial basis. It's not official yet, but there is a program that we have in place to, as everybody knows, the referee is the sole arbiter of a fight, and with instant replay and just tremendous advantages of having instant replay, we're trying to think outside the box like many other sports, baseball, football, all major professional sports. Right. And we'll be coming up with a program in the immediate future that even further assists the fighters to make sure the right fighter did in fact get cut with a punch, or it was a headbutt and not a punch. And so we can make those clarifications right away, and it's not at the expense of the fans or fighters.
Right. Now, here in Nevada, I know we're always trying to strive to be the best and try to bring more fights to Nevada. What are you doing with the promoters and other governing bodies to try to generate more bigger fights to Nevada, or just bring even on the low level, more preliminary fights to develop young talent? What are we doing here in the state of Nevada as far as promoters and managers? What are we doing, or what ideas do you have in mind for the future?
Well, I think what any fighter and any promoter wants is a level playing field. And as regulators, our officials get paid to get it right. And so when who's ever fighting, we want to make sure that fight is judged correctly and accurately. We want to make sure that the referee has a good understanding and assesses the fighters the minute the bell strikes for the first round. And between the referees and the judges doing their job and the inspectors kicking in information and the ringside physicians taking a look at the fighters, collectively, we're able to bring an outstanding product to the table. And it's all in support of the fighter, because if it wasn't for the fighters, none of us really would be here.
Right, so you're working with the promoter. Promoters are pretty much satisfied, managers and fighters themselves, that you have a good team of officials here. But we're trying to generate more bigger fights or small cards to Nevada. What words can you use to encourage more promoters and managers to try to bring more fights to the state?
Well, everybody knows that judging a fight and even refereeing a fight, it's a very difficult task if it's a competitive fight. And on whether it's the first fight on the card or it's a championship fight, Chairman Marnell made it perfectly clear that we want to bring the best judges and officials here, and we're blessed to have some outstanding referees and judges. But at the same time, on these mega fights, you have 2 or 3, 4 championship fights in the card. You want to make sure you have the creme de la creme officials judging that fight, and what we're able to do to make sure that the promoters are satisfied is we bring judges in from around the world. We'll go to Italy, we'll go to Canada, we'll go over to the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, right. And we'll invite certain judges to come here, and as long as they consistently prove themselves under stressful conditions and they're successful, we'll bring them back.
Great. So here in Nevada, we're talking about fans out there. A lot of promoters are starting to bring, even Eddie Hearns from Europe is starting to bring fights here to the States because he knows this is where the mega fights are taking place. So Bob Bennett, with the officials that he has on board, judges and referees, the commission, everybody involved, promoters are encouraged to bring more boxing to the state of Nevada because that's what we're looking for, to have more shows on a regular basis, smaller shows like we did back in the days, back in the 70s and 80s. There was shows like 2-3 times a week. And we can go back to that era and bring those promoters and say that's the way we want to do it again here in Nevada. I think we can do it. I know other states, California has a lot of fights up and down the state. It's a lot, and I believe they have over 200 shows a year or, or close to it. And Nevada here, being that this is a boxing capital, we get the mega fights here. But I think Nevada and yourself with the commissioner and Anthony Martinell, the whole group, I think that we should encourage more promoters and managers bring the fights here because you're going to get a fair shake here. And one of the most important things is we're talking about safety in fighters. You want your fighters, the people that you're bringing into the state, you want to make sure that they can come back another day safe and sound. That's why it's so important that you know that when you come to Nevada, Bob Bennett and his executive team and the commissioners, especially the chairman Anthony Martinell, who we think the world of, he micro watches everything when it comes to boxing, and Bob Bennett knows that he got the right team of commissioners behind him to support any decision that he's making. That's why here in Nevada, I encourage all boxing individuals consider Nevada.
You know, along those lines, Joe, whether it's a 4-round fight, 6-8, 10-12, is irrelevant.
Right.
I go through the same checklist. Like some people say to me, Bob, are you kidding me? You do this on a 4-round fight? And I go, sure. I said, have you ever gotten your brains beat in for 4 rounds? I mean, it's not a pleasant feeling.
Right.
So, you know, what we try to do if you have small shows coming in, you know, it's common knowledge that you have to give me a reason to approve a fight. There has to be something in there. And if I can't find it, and I even asked the promoter or the matchmaker, excuse me, hey, work with me on something. I can't see a reason to prove this. Maybe you can see something that I'm not seeing.
Well, I'll tell you, for what I can see right now, I think even Ray Charles can see that you're doing the right job. You know, you're absolutely doing the right thing, and you're going in the right direction. That's why we have these type of shows, and I like to, as a journalist that I am now with what I'm doing with the radio and the TV, I want the listeners out there to see what goes on behind the scenes. What goes on behind the scenes is so important because it's not just these two fighters getting in the ring. A lot goes on. A lot of work goes on to put in these shows together. And I really take off my hat to you, Bobby, for you and your staff for the fine job. You know, nobody can do it by themselves. You're doing a great job.
You know, thank you, Joe. And you brought up another good point, is none of these fights come to fruition without the staff that we have.
Exactly.
Here. They've been some of the staff have been here for 30 years, 25 years, 20, and so once again, I'm blessed to have a staff like this because it's the engine room. Exactly. It's really without this staff and without the administrative work getting done, exactly, you don't see the fights. So
exactly,
it's certainly a team effort.
Okay, so we have to say that here in Nevada, this is the best. As far as I'm concerned, I want to say to you listeners out there, Bob Bennett, Executive Director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, I want to thank you for being on the show here with Joe Cortez and Bob Bennett. Hey guys, I'm fair but I'm firm.
Thank you, Joe.
Keep your guards up at all times. God bless.
Fair but firm with the Hall of Fame boxing referee
I'm Joe Cortez.
for all of Las Vegas.
Come on, guys. Let's touch them up. Clean fight. I'm Joe Cortez. Fair but firm.